Hello everyone, I've made a couple guides before, but none of them explore the combat of Mighty Omega quite like this one. I'm going to discuss how to train your movement, accuracy, as well as a bunch of other little counters inside existing common builds. So I'm not going to delay this any more than I already have, let's just go into it. So for this part of the video, I'm going to separate it into two sections because lean movement and muscle movement are two completely different discussions. I have chapters enabled if you want to just skip to the part that helps you the most. Lean movement specializes in extremely fast micro movements to conserve stamina and move in a method that is difficult to predict so that enemies won't hit you easily. The primary technique of lean movement is stutter stepping. It's used universally by leans who know what they're doing, so I'll briefly touch up on that now. This is executed by rapidly double tapping W to sprint only for like a second at a time. This makes it so you can easily change direction on a dime, and it prevents your stamina from rapidly draining from movement alone. The concept of strafe baiting is as follows. I cannot get hit if I am not in my opponent's range, but my opponent doesn't know that. If you run and strafe at an opponent at a side angle just close enough to them, but out of their effective range, this can bait out an attack, and in the recovery frames of those attacks, you can move in for your own attack. And this tech has worked several times on the same person, and if you keep actually using it on the same person, it builds doubt that you're just gonna run straight at them, which can make it less predictable to just run straight at them and get free hits. Muscle movement is largely different from lean movement in that running isn't as important as dashing. So large amounts of lower body muscle give you insane dash distance, so you're gonna want to take advantage of that with these techniques. This is a very basic principle of muscle movement that everyone has to use. Ensure that when you are dashing, you are also jumping off the ground. As a muscle build, this gives you a very large dash distance boost. It shows in leans too, but not as much as a muscle build. And this lets you catch up to your opponents very easily. Because muscle builds have good neutral advantages like poise, super armor, and extremely high stun, walking backwards to try to force somebody to miss kind of puts them at a even bigger disadvantage, so hitting them can be easy. You can use this as a lean too, but I feel like muscle builds just benefit from this way more. So due to muscle builds having insane dashes, one of the most surprising techs to get hit by is a dashback. This is when a muscle build dashes in one direction to avoid an attack, and then dashes right back in to follow up on the recovery frames. Once again, lean people can do this, but it's more effective on a muscle build because of that huge dash distance. Keeping your stamina high is important during fights, especially with opponents whose skills can revolve around specifically draining your stamina and oppressing you. There's a method to helping the user not drain their stamina. Now, what this is referring to is the colon symbol in trait. Imagine a line right below this colon in your stamina bar. This is the threshold you do not want to pass because that is when you start sweating and your stamina depletes faster. If you finish a combo, you want to take a moment to make sure your stamina is well over this line, and then you're going to do a reset. After performing a combo or having an engagement in combat that is very taxing to your stamina, maintain distance between you and your opponent and avoid sprinting. Only walk. This will allow you to recover your stamina safely, but be wary of those long-range moves like Lion Bite, Lightning Flash, and Raging Blow, because those can catch you off guard. It is also advantageous to use this moment of safety to charge up your rhythm, so next time you get into an engagement, you'll have those extra stats. Accuracy is the counterpart to movement. If someone's accuracy is more precise than their opponent's movement is unpredictable, you can land hits on them easily. So this is super simple, just observe your opponent, try to find their subconscious patterns in their movement. For example, if your opponent usually tries to strafe bait you to your left, super fast, move as far to your left as you can so your attack will align with them and they just run straight into it as intended. Now, this is a very simple technique, but it requires a certain amount of skill to do properly. It's kind of similar to like a first-person shooter, where in Mighty, it helps to keep the frontmost part of your avatar pointed directly at your opponent. The reason we do this is because attack hitboxes in Mighty can be very narrow, and that little turn can be the difference between missing and hitting. And it also helps when you're guarding against enemies because you can only block from the front. Your other sides are vulnerable to guard chipping, so be careful. So I just mentioned this. This is a technique utilized by leans where they strafe around their opponent, and they have to be guarding. It's a guarding opponent, and they're trying to bypass their guard. This is commonly countered with expert tracking, so it might be helpful to incorporate a guard break at some point to just catch them off guard, you know, if they are keeping their guard up. Understanding how your combos are going to work is essential to being able to execute a good combo out of nowhere, just subconsciously. So you have your starters, extenders, finishers, and just your regular M1s. A starter is obviously something that starts your combo. This can be any stun move, or M1s if you're zesty. An extender is usually a stun skill, and oftentimes Jab Rush can be used as a great extender in combination with any stun skill. Starters and extenders usually don't knock people back, but there are exceptions with skills to knock people back and throw you forward, like Gazelle Punch, Flying Teep, and Psycho Crush. Those are pretty good. It's usually not a true combo, but those moves can combo start and extend if you're fast enough. Finishers prioritize high damage and knock people away so you can back up and reset your stamina. Building your movesets around these principles will allow you to string together a whole slaw of random bullshit to completely style in your opponent and just remove their health bar from the game. So this is a basic dash followed up with combo starters. It's super basic. Never use extenders or finishers for this. You go to your opponent, stun them first, do a whole M1 combo, immediately dash forward, wait half a second so your hitbox doesn't bug out, stun again, and do another M1 combo. If you incorporate side dashes, you can repeatedly do dash follow-ups, but it gets more difficult the more times you use this in quick succession because of dash fatigue. Now, this is a very rewarding but difficult technique. You M1 someone 3 times, but right before you do the 4th M1 that knocks them back, you dash forward. It helps to be on the side of an opponent so that your dash doesn't run you straight into them, because that can mess you up. When executed perfectly, this brings the user forward before their opponent, giving them time to hit them with the stun and continue their combo. This gets significantly more difficult after the first Afro dash if you're trying to continue it because you're restricted to your side dashes after the first one. This is a technique my good friend Wonder taught me, so you can curve the trajectory of your dashes significantly to move in a very wavy way like so. You can achieve this by looking sideways in the direction you want to go, dashing, and then immediately flicking your mouse forward. This causes this effect, and the only drawback is your movement isn't always something that you can predict, and especially not your opponent, so it can lower your own accuracy at the expense of making you evasive. So you're going to need a good stun and jab rush to do this. You don't need flash jabs to pull it off, but it helps a lot. Start with 3 M1s, stun, wait half a second just for the stun to linger and for your cooldowns to reset on your M1s. Do 2 jabs from your jab rush or 1 flash jab. And auto click M1s to finish the combo. You know, use the auto clicker. Or try to do 3 more M1s if you have enough hit stun to continue the combo and you're confident that you can. This should work if you have enough hit stun and decent edits, but if it doesn't work yet, maybe get your strike power up. Strike speed if you're too slow, maybe increase your muscle a little bit. You're gonna have to tweak this a lot until it works. So Raging Blow in itself is such a powerful tool that it deserves its own entire section. No move in Mighty Omega will give you so much trouble compared to this one. It has iframes, guard breaking properties, really good hitbox, good stun. So you're bound to get hit if you don't know how to play around it. So that's a free combo. We don't want that. So for my owns out there, let's discuss how to use Raging Blow, and if you're not known, I'll tell you how you can kind of counter it. You can use Raging Blow however you want, but for me, there are like 3 primary ways to using it that I found useful. So think of this as like a dash follow-up that we were talking about earlier, but using Raging Blow instead of dashing. More experienced fighters will recognize this because it's very basic. And they can usually evade it very easily, so I don't tend to Sometimes it can be pretty unexpected to just use a Raging Blow as a combo extender in someone's face, and if they're trying to mash out with the skill that gives them iframes, you pretty much will win that little encounter, and you'll be able to extend your combo for free. This one's a favorite of mine and a lot of others because Raging gives you those iframes. You can use the startup of the move to completely remove someone's attack that they're trying to hit you with, and you just hit them with a way worse move in return. And this is difficult to counter because it is oftentimes unexpected unless the opponent is thinking like 3 steps ahead of you in the moment. So how do you counter a Raging Blow? So due to the unusual nature of Raging, there exist a few good skills for countering it besides actual counters like Weave, Monkey Counter, Lightning Counter, and Cross Counter. Your own Raging Blow can counter somebody else's Raging Blow, and so can Suppressed Stride, Flying Teep, Flying Knee, and Gazelle Punch, and even the M2 of Brute Force. I realized it's kind of crazy. Those can all function as adequate counters for Raging Blow if your timing is just perfect. So yeah, that's all I have for now. For the most part, Mighty is kind of just figuring out your own playstyle and preferences to see what skill you're good with, and what you can land. So just experiment a lot until you find a playstyle that works for you. As I do with all my guides, I'll be reading all of my comments, so if something I said was confusing, or if you had a completely unrelated question, I don't mind answering all of those things. Also, if you want to hang out with me or other people that watch my videos, I have a Discord in the description. We play a lot of Mighty, we talk about other stuff. You can join that if you want, and if you enjoyed this video, you can like and subscribe if you want. I don't know. If you have an idea for a future video, just let me know in my Discord or in my comments. I'll consider whatever ideas you have, but yeah, that's all I've got to say though. Have a good one.